Joining us now are two of the stars from the TV sitcom Family Affair. Johnny Whitaker, who played...
Some moments in television history aren't just entertainment. They're wounds. Deep, personal scars hidden behind a famous smile. Today, we're diving into the astonishing, untold story of Johnny Whitaker. The iconic child star who brought joy to millions. But there's one particular episode, one single, half-hour segment of his career, he simply refuses to watch. Not won't. Refuses. Why? Because for Johnny, what happened on that set wasn't acting. It was pure, raw trauma, a profound emotional cost no one talks about. And the hidden fallout from that single performance, even shocked his own family, changing his life forever. This isn't just about a TV show, it's about the invisible price of fame on a child's soul. A price many child stars paid, and are still paying. Born John Orson Whitaker Jr. on December 13, 1959, in the sunny suburbs of Van Nuys, California, Johnny was just another kid. Until he wasn't. At 3 years old, while most kids were mastering crayons and playground games, Johnny was mastering ad reads. His very first gig? A local used car dealership. Harmless, right? You'd think. But the path was set. A path where his carefree childhood would slowly, subtly become public property. Soon, America fell for his cherubic charm and infectious energy. He became the adorable face, and unmistakable voice, of Mattel Toys, famous for the animal yackers, Larry the Lion, Crackers the Parrot. His animated energy made plastic feel alive, a pre-internet viral sensation, his voice echoing in living rooms across the nation. But behind that irresistible smile, that perfect delivery, a constant, unspoken pressure was already building. What does it truly mean to have your childhood for sale? To be a meticulously crafted brand before you've even fully formed as a person? To always be on, for the cameras, for the executives, for millions of strangers? By 1965, Johnny transitioned from the quick takes of commercials to the sustained drama of television, securing a role on General Hospital as Scotty Baldwin. This was a significant leap, showcasing a surprising emotional maturity and range for such a young actor. But it was 1966 that would completely redefine his world, and unknowingly, set the stage for the episode that continues to haunt him to this day. He secured a small, yet profoundly memorable part in the classic Hollywood film, The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. On that set, the veteran actor and co-star Brian Keith saw something truly extraordinary in the young Whitaker. Keith was so impressed, he personally vouched for Johnny, recommending him for a brand new CBS sitcom, Family Affair. Johnny was cast as Jody Davis, one of 3 orphan children sent to live with their wealthy bachelor uncle in a swanky Manhattan high-rise. This was his biggest break, his ascent to household name status. It was also, unknowingly, his introduction to the kind of profound emotional labor that would leave an invisible, aching scar. Johnny, alongside the equally talented Anissa Jones as Buffy and Kathy Garver as Sissy, created one of TV's most adored families. With Sebastian Cabot, as the endearing Mr. French, completing the picture of this unconventional but loving household. Their stories? Often about coping with loss, finding healing, and redefining what family truly meant in the wake of tragedy. Here's the twist, and it's crucial to understanding Johnny's experience. The show's very core theme, grief, healing, and adaptation, mirrored a chilling reality for its young stars, especially Johnny and Anissa, who were often performing emotions far beyond their years. Originally, Jody and Buffy weren't even conceived as twins, but producers, witnessing the undeniable, almost magical chemistry and genuine bond between Johnny and Anissa during early rehearsals, rewrote the characters entirely to make them siblings. Their connection wasn't just for the cameras. Off-screen, they were truly like brother and sister, navigating the surreal world of child fame together. This genuine, innocent connection, this deep emotional mirroring, made the eventual, unwatchable episode 1,000 times more brutal. Imagine being a child, repeatedly asked to act out your deepest fears, living a fiction that felt terrifyingly, devastatingly real, scene after scene, day after day. What kind of profound emotional toll does that take on a developing mind? when the lines between character and self begin to blur. And then came the episode. It aired in 1967, and it was titled, Mrs. Beasley, Where Are You? To millions of viewers across America, it was a poignant, touching story about a child coping with the devastating, heartbreaking loss of her most cherished possession, her Mrs. Beasley doll. A classic tearjerker, meticulously designed to pull at heartstrings and showcase the children's vulnerability. But for a 6-year-old Johnny, inside the highly structured, high-pressure environment of a television set, it struck an agonizingly deep chord. He was tasked with channeling raw fear, inconsolable sorrow, and profound helplessness. And this is where the story truly twists, and the secret lies, hidden beneath layers of performance. Johnny later confessed the tears you saw on screen weren't entirely acting. He recalls the director, William D. Russell, patiently explaining the scene, but something deeper clicked within Johnny. He was a small boy, forced to conjure and sustain true, visceral grief. Those tears were startlingly, viscerally real. A raw, unscripted reflection of buried fears and emotional confusion he couldn't even name. This wasn't just a script to memorize, a set of lines to deliver. It felt like reliving a personal, undefined loss, a profound emptiness that echoed his own complex reality. It was, for lack of a better word, dramatic. He wasn't just crying for Buffy's lost doll, he was crying for himself, for the unsettling demands of his young life, for the heavy weight of expectations. What would you do if your entire livelihood, your family's stability, depended on performing your deepest, most vulnerable fears on demand, under bright lights, take after take? The emotional weight of Mrs. Beasley, Where Are You? Was magnified by his deep friendship with Anissa. Acting out scenes where Jodie and Buffy feared losing their fragile stability, where their world felt threatened, brought unspoken anxieties to the surface for Johnny. For a child navigating sudden, intense fame, rigid schedules, and a constant need to perform with adult professionalism, the filming of this episode became utterly overwhelming. Crew members, witnessing his raw, unfiltered performance, were amazed. They saw a child actor delivering an extraordinary, mature portrayal of grief that left even seasoned professionals stunned. But what happened when the director yelled, "Cut"? The cameras stopped, but the emotions didn't. Johnny vividly recalls retreating to his dressing room in silence, a small boy trying to process the inexplicable depth of what he just felt, that unfamiliar wave of profound sadness. He didn't understand why this particular episode, out of all of them, had affected him so deeply. According to leading child psychologists and developmental experts, at age 6, a child's brain is still developing emotional regulation and the cognitive ability to separate fantasy from reality, making sustained, forced performance of deep grief profoundly taxing and potentially damaging. This wasn't just a role, it was a performance that didn't just earn him praise, it cost him a piece of his essential childhood innocence and left an indelible mark. The Mrs. Beasley doll wasn't just a prop. On the show, it was Buffy's most tangible, most cherished connection to her deceased parents, a symbol of her last emotional anchor in a world turned upside down. For Johnny, in a chilling parallel, the doll came to represent the precarious emotional anchors we cling to when everything else feels uncertain, when the world demands you be someone you're not. The on-screen grief, the confusion, the raw fear of loss, they were all too familiar for a child constantly being asked to be perfect, to deliver an adult performance. This is the critical thread that ties it all together. In later, poignant interviews, Johnny openly described that episode, and the overwhelming feelings it evoked, as a capsule of pain. It's an unshakable reminder of a time when he was profoundly vulnerable, emotionally unprepared, and yet expected to deliver a powerful, authentic performance on cue, day after demanding day. This is the silent, ongoing sacrifice of child stardom, a trauma rarely discussed openly. And tragically, Johnny wasn't the only family affair child star to struggle with the intense pressures. What happened to Anissa Jones, his beloved co-star, who later faced her own battles with fame and addiction, would cast an even darker, more somber shadow over the show's legacy, highlighting the systemic vulnerabilities of child performers. After Family Affair ended its 5-year run in 1971, Johnny's career didn't simply stop. He continued to build an impressive, versatile resume, starring as the titular character in Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, bringing Mark Twain's classic Tom Sawyer to life for Disney, and even appearing alongside a young Jodie Foster in Napoleon and Samantha. He was, without a doubt, a genuine, multi-talented child star with an undeniable range. But eventually, the grind of constant performance, and perhaps those lingering emotional echoes from episodes like Mrs. Beasley, led Johnny to step away from the immediate glare of the spotlight. He moved behind the scenes, taking on roles that offered more control and less direct emotional exposure. He even worked as a computer consultant for CBS, a quiet pivot. Later, he joined his sister's talent agency, managing other young actors, including Different Strokes star Dana Plato. He handled fame not as a naive child, but as a seasoned warrior returning from a battlefield, with scars, but with invaluable wisdom and a profound sense of purpose. His deep, personal empathy for their struggles, born directly from his own painful experiences, made him a powerful advocate. He knew the invisible price they paid, the hidden pressures, because he'd paid it too, and he recognized the insidious patterns of exploitation that often accompany child stardom. In 1999, Johnny Whitaker received a much-deserved Lifetime Achievement Award from the Young Artist Foundation. This wasn't just recognition for his memorable performances, it was for the quiet grace and remarkable resilience with which he transitioned out of the intense scrutiny of child stardom. He even returned briefly in the 2010s for stage and radio work, charming audiences with a cameo in the reboot of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, a testament to his enduring talent. Yet despite the accolades, the wave of nostalgia, and the undeniable warmth he feels for his past, that one episode, Mrs. Beasley, Where Are You?, remains steadfastly unwatched. Why does a single episode, broadcast decades ago, still hold such profound, undiminished power over a man's entire life? The answer is heartbreaking, and it speaks volumes about the true, silent cost of performing childhood for the world. Most people will never hear the real, raw reason this scene became a permanent, painful fixture in his emotional landscape. It's a testament to the fact that some experiences, no matter how professionally rendered, are simply too personal, too deeply felt, to ever revisit. Johnny Whitaker doesn't avoid that episode out of shame or regret for the work he did. He avoids it out of a deep, unflinching emotional honesty. Watching it would mean reopening a raw, vulnerable wound he's carried quietly for decades. It's a powerful, almost heartbreaking reminder that behind the polished smiles, the perfect performances, and the seamless, idealized world of television, child actors are, first and foremost, still children, with real feelings, real fears, and real memories that shape who they become, sometimes in profound, irreversible ways. For Johnny, avoiding that episode isn't about forgetting his past or denying his incredible legacy. It's about protecting his peace. It's about healing. And in that profoundly personal, utterly honest choice, we find the true, often invisible, cost of childhood fame. A cost that sometimes, only the child himself can truly measure. What unwatched episode, in your own life might you need to finally heal from? When you watch your favorite shows, do you ever consider the human cost behind the performance?